Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Hilary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness in the human spirit and creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show. And today we have a very special guest for our education series. We have Chyna Bratcher. Chyna is a kindergarten teacher with a passion for SEL and supporting teachers to prevent burnout. She also has a passion for bridging the literacy gap between lower and upper elementary. Welcome, Chyna. So, yeah, this is fun. Okay, so tell us, I just want to know, like, back growing up, what made you go become a teacher? Was there a special story that had you want to go into teaching?
So I always kind of like wanted to be, something different. So I would say I wanted to be a therapist or I wanted to be a politician. I would like try to find things. But one day I went to a kindergarten class, actually my sister's kindergarten class, and I went to intern there. I was a sophomore in high school, I believe. Yeah, I was 16. And I went to intern there and help out. And I loved it. I'm like, this is strange. I didn't think I would like teaching. So I would do that for like twice a week. I would go there. I did it for like 2 months.
So your sister was a teacher or a student?
A student. So she was a kindergarten student. And at the time, this is in Colorado. So I attended a virtual academy. So I was online. And so I had a flexible schedule to be able to do that. So when I finished my online schooling, I would go to her school and I would volunteer and intern there. And I loved it. And I began to just learn how, a classroom functions, small groups. And so I would help doing that. Even to the point my mom came to help out that day, someday, and she was doing something wrong. I was like, Mom, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. And she was like, how do you know that? Like, I was like so into it. I knew what to do at 16. And so
at 16.
At 16.
Wow.
And
was it instinctive or had you learned it? How did you know?
It's instinct. It's just in me. Like, I didn't go to school for it, obviously. I was just 16 years old. And so from there, I kind of felt that passion brewing.
So after that, so after high school, where did you go to college? Did you study teaching?
Yes. So I moved to North Carolina my senior year of high school. So mind you, I did 3 years of virtual high school. So I had never attended a public high school until my senior year.
How come?
I just made a decision just to stay home, be online, kind of just spend more time with my mom. We were kind of having some differences as a child, so then we kind of grew closer together during that time. So it was just a personal preference just to be virtual, or you would say homeschool, but I wouldn't call it homeschool because she didn't teach me. I actually had teachers that were the virtual setting. This was way before the pandemic. So I was
going to say, was it during COVID? No.
Well, I was way ahead of my time. So this was my freshman through junior year of high school. I was at a virtual academy.
Wow.
So moving to North Carolina, they did not have that particular program. So at that time, it basically forced me into, introducing myself to the actual public setting, the brick and mortar setting. And so,
what had you moved to North Carolina?
So my dad is from North Carolina. He originally, he lived here until he was about 18 years old. And then he ended up moving. My mom and him met. This is a long story. And then they met and moved to Colorado. And so we stayed there pretty much my whole life. And so my dad ended up getting a promotion. He had 2 options. Bismack, South Dakota or North Dakota, one of those,
Oh,
or North Carolina. So it was kind of a no-brainer to
yeah.
move back to North Carolina.
Nice. Okay. Right. So you go to the brick and mortar high school for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah,
How was that?
that was interesting because this is the only high school in this county. So there's about 3,000 kids at that one school. So just imagine me, my first year of high school, first year in a brick and mortar high school, and my senior year of high school. Just let that like sink in.
Yeah.
So I was like a fish in a big or a big, I guess you can say a small fish in a big pond, because I'm like, I don't know anyone here. But I ended up doing really well. I joined a lot of clubs, and one club that I did join, it was called a teacher cadet club. And in that club, we were able to basically get like an introduction to what it would be like going into a education program. So we learned all the different teaching styles and all that good stuff. And then we had the opportunity to go to elementary schools. We went to 2 different elementary schools, and this one particular one, it was in more of a smaller rural area, where the kids, pretty much they didn't have that support at home. A lot of them came to school hungry. Um, so it was just one of those areas where the kids weren't getting the best of the best. And so when I went there, it was an eye opener to know that there are kids that are not fortunate enough to have just simple necessities. And when they come to school, that is that one place of like, this is home for me. This feels safe. And I ended up doing that program, and it was the last day. And this kid, I told him, like, this is my last day today. I enjoyed myself. And this was one of those kids that everyone was like, I can't do anything with this child. He doesn't listen. He's rambunctious. This one kid, he came up to me and he said, I don't want you to leave. You help me learn. And when he said that, like, tears just built up in my eyes. And I just realized at that very moment, I'm a teacher. Like, that's it. Like, if these are professionals who are saying they can't take this child, they don't know what to do with this child. And here I am, 17 years old, and this child is telling me, don't leave. You help me learn. I knew from there I had to continue on. And so from there, I did end up attending Liberty University, and I got my undergrad in elementary education. So I was full throttle teaching, wanted to be a teacher, and then the pandemic happened. That's a whole other story.
So had you already started teaching when it started?
So when I finished my undergrad, I started doing long-term subbing. So I was a 4th grade long-term sub. And I had this thread of me saying, I will never do this. So I would say I would never teach kindergarten. That was one thing I always say. And I would say I will never teach math. Like, every time I say I never do something, it ends up happening. So I've kind of learned to ease up on that word.
Yeah. What year was that? Was that 2019?
2019, I started subbing. So I graduated in 2019. I started subbing
in the fall.
Just to kind of get my feet wet to see, how things were. So I ended up subbing K through 8th, actually. I've subbed every single grade level all the way up to 8th grade. I stopped at 8th grade because I looked too young to go into the high school. I didn't even want to do it. I was like, you know what? Let me just stay here, because I was already looking like the middle schooler. So I didn't want to go any further. So before the pandemic in 2020, I think it was January, I accepted a long-term subbing position for math, 4th grade math.
Oh my God.
Remember, I told you I said I'd never teach math. But I ended up starting doing that, and I was phenomenal at it, surprisingly. I still shocked myself at that. But then the pandemic happened. And so, of course, at that point, the teacher was on maternity leave. So she just took over and did the virtual teaching. So I didn't have a job. But then my sister, she was on they ended up creating a virtual academy here. So I did Colorado Virtual Academy. They ended up at that point of my sister being in middle school having North Carolina Virtual Academy, which is a public virtual school. And so I was able to become a teacher with them. So it was kind of like full circle for me to time be a virtual academy student and then become a virtual academy teacher. So I was able to do that. And I did that for 2 years during that pandemic.
What were you teaching? What you?
History. I was a 7th grade history teacher.
Wow.
So that means I've officially taught all grades, but for an extended time, I've taught kindergarten, 5th grade, 7th grade, 4th grade as well. So yeah.
All right. So after that, after the 2 years of virtual, then what happened?
So a lot happened personally. I feel like my story is going to be so like, you're going to be like, what? Your eyes are going to be open quite a bit.
This is called getting real.
Yes, we're getting real.
We love this. We love real.
I love that. I'm a person that I like to be real. So a lot happened personally. So going back to the pandemic era, well, first and foremost, my grandmother passed during the pandemic unexpectedly.
Oh.
She lived in Colorado, and so that's my mother's mom. And that was really tough. My mom had just had a baby at 42. So 2020, we had a lot happen. So the pandemic happened. So a lot happened in 2020. My grandmother passed away. My mom had a baby at 42, which that was a big shocker.
And what member kid is that?
5.
Okay.
I'm the oldest of 5. Then we had purchased a home. Like there was beautiful things that happened. But after my grandmother passed away, my mom almost went in a state of like depression, to where she literally, I was feeding her. Like I was bringing food to her, in the bed. And I had to raise my little brother. So at that point he was 6 months. So I was raising my brother.
And you were working too?
I was working. I started a master's program. So I had all that. So it was a lot. My mom had went down really bad. Like her blood pressure was spiking. So then it made her anxious, so she wouldn't eat. So I was balancing all of that. My sister was both of them were doing virtual learning. So I was trying to keep them good. My brother was 6 months. My mom was sick. I had to do all of that. It didn't feel like a chore because it was my mom. So I did that. Eventually I did have to let go of my job, because I could not balance raising a newborn, helping my mom, finishing my master's degree. So I did ended up letting that job go, and just fully tending to them. And so fast forward, she ended up getting better. It took about a year and a half, honestly, for mom to get better. Like she was not herself for that long. And so I just, kept going. So moving into 2022, that's when kind of schools were opening back up and I was prepared and ready to actually go into an actual brick and mortar and teach. So I started my first year in a brick and mortar as an official teacher, as a 5th grade teacher.
Wow.
And I did not even interview for 5th grade. I interviewed for 3rd grade, but they thought I was fit for 5th grade. And so I went in that interview, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, thinking like, okay, I can do this. I can conquer this. I'm ready. And then it went downhill from there for me. My uncle, I actually received a phone call while I was at work that one of my favorite uncles, he died unexpectedly. And I just remember I had my students in my classroom and I was telling them to like call my uncle to check on him. And in the midst of me texting someone to say, can you call him? I got a call and he's like, Chyna, he died. And I just like remember like not hearing anything. I walked out of the classroom, went over to my partner's classroom. And I was like, I can't do this. And I walked, she watched my class and I walked out. I just cried. But I came to work the next day. And I thought that grief was just like one of those things, like you just keep going and you'll get over it. But surprisingly, to my surprise, not. And
how did he die? What?
He cardiac arrest. I think he had a heart attack. He literally was on the way to his appointment. He went to his appointment actually. He was an older uncle, but he was well taken care of. And he literally walked in the doctor's office, said his name, and they said he collapsed and he passed. And so for me, that was tough, because I really watched over him and we stayed in contact. And for him to pass like that, I didn't realize how much it was detrimental until like as time went by. And as you hear my story more, you'll see how that really did some damage to me. So,
wow.
yeah. So that happened. So
And you
just
went back the next day. Yep.
yeah, I went back to work, trying to just keep going, and that's what I did. I kept going. I was still doing my master's degree. My first year in official brick and mortar, I had 75 kids because fifth grade you have to block classes. So I had 25 kids in each class, 25 or more actually in each class. So I had to keep up with grades and all that, and it was just so overwhelming. I had some monster parents, to be honest with you, and that's another thing I would tell parents, like, be gracious to educators because you never know what they're going through. I mean, I received some of the most nastiest emails during that time from parents, and I'm like literally like just trying to like make it every single day.
What would they say? Like, what were they being mean about?
Oh my goodness, parents are mean about grades. If their kid comes home and like there was a misunderstanding, like they felt some type of way, they would make that a big deal. I had a parent that actually had the superintendent. They called the superintendent about my grading and how how the point system works. And they had to actually break down the point system. One of the most hurtful things that happened to me, though, was I had a student go home and I had two things that happened. You ready for stories?
Yeah. Love stories. I mean, not sad stories, but
Yeah. Well, now I can look back on them, like shake my head, but they were horrible. On my third day of work, I had a student lie on me and say that I was in the bathroom making inappropriate sounds. Yeah. On my third day on the job. So my principal pulls me
they
out of my
said you were in the bathroom.
I was in the bathroom making inappropriate noises in the bathroom, and my principal thought it was a great idea to ask me about it. Which I was kind of offended by because I'm like, that's kind of a Title IX issue. But I was making inappropriate sounds, and so that was very interesting. I was like, okay, this is an interesting job so far. So that was that. It wasn't really addressed by leadership, so it was more so I was addressed or questioned rather than the child being addressed.
Right.
I was a little concerned about that.
How would a child even know about that? You know what I mean? Like and why would they be in the bathroom with you?
I guess they heard me making those noises as they were walking past. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That happened to me last week. Someone did something illegal and they started like telling me I was suspicious. I'm like, what did I do?
Exactly.
It had nothing to do. Yeah, it's offensive, right? It makes you just say, you know what? I don't need this crap, right?
Yeah, I was very offended by that, mainly because
Right.
of leadership. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
leadership, I would hope that you would vouch for me and know that as your employee, I wouldn't be doing that. It was more so of a question thing,
Yeah, exactly.
like,
Yeah.
so that was
That was the first. What was the second?
the second one. We were teaching a lesson on like the Holocaust and that kind of um time era. And I had a student in my class that he was half German, and I had a Caucasian student. And as we were talking about this topic, the Caucasian student looked and glared at the half German student when we were talking about very sensitive things. And so I made that a teachable moment. And I asked him, I said, because he noticed that he was looking at him, he was offended. He's like, why are you looking at me? And so I asked the student that was glaring at the half German student, and I said, how would you feel if one of the African American students glared at you while talking about the civil rights movement? How would you feel? Just to kind of bridge that empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he went home to his mom and said that I called him Hitler. That's how he translated that conversation. I called him Hitler.
The German or the Caucasian?
No, the Caucasian said that I called him Hitler.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was teaching a lesson, and literally while I'm teaching, my principal calls me to her office and asks me to. I just walk in, and there's a parent sitting there, so I was not warned. Like, hey, Miss Bratcher, there's a parent here who's upset. I literally walk in her office, and there's an angry parent, and the conversation is, "You called my son a Hitler." So I'm lost for words. And I think that's what was the most hurtful thing that, again, my leadership did not vouch or say, hey, can we
Right.
talk about this at a later time? Kind of, brief the conversation with me later. I just kind of felt like I wasn't supported. So from there, I was already on a downhill slope, but I began to see like I'm not supported. And I almost have the mindset of, is this what teaching is like? Is this how it is where it's teacher against parents? And so from there, I felt like I was losing that glimmer, that hope for teaching. And so I was already starting to feel really sick. That's a whole nother thing. My body was not feeling right. I was probably sick once a month, out sick. Like I couldn't get out the bed. I thought maybe my immune system was down just from the fact of being around kids. So long story short, at the end of the school year, the last day of school, actually, I made the decision to put in my resignation. I had no job lined up. I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. But I literally felt like I can't do this. My body's not well. My mental health is not well. I was still grieving my uncle. The parent situation, which is overwhelming. I was like, I'm done. So at this point, 2 degrees education, but quit. Totally quit. And so I was met with the point of like, what am I going to do? I love teaching. I love the relationships I built with the kids. I love the content that I taught. But what am I going to do now? Because I know that I can't do this anymore. And so the summer came and my mom was like, why don't you just try kindergarten? And I was like, I will never teach kindergarten. Why would you even suggest like such a thing? And so
why did she say that? Because it's different, because they're littler, like why?
Yeah, like just give it a try. There's not as many kids, you'll love it. And she's like, there's crafts. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like literally every time she would explain it, I'm like, no. But I applied. I just went on a whim and I applied and I interviewed for the kindergarten position and I loved.
Was it a different school?
Different school.
Good. Okay, good.
A different school. And it's just really down the road from my house. And I loved the interview. So I ended up starting the job and every single moment I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Wait, I get to be the foundation. Like everything that they learn is from me. Their social emotional skills. It's from me. They're how to read. That's from me. Like I just realized that everything that I saw in 5th grade that students did not have, whether it's self-regulation, reading skills, I was able to be that foundation. And so that got me so pumped. So that was my first year. But something else happened.
Uh-oh. So what year was that? That 2023?
2023. Yes.
Okay. Uh-oh. What happened now?
What happened? So remember I told you I was feeling sick a lot.
Yeah.
Didn't know why. And so one day I literally could not get out of bed. And I'm young.
Yeah.
I'm at the point I was 26. I could not get out of bed. Like I was just, my mom was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't know. I was just laying there limp. And so she's like, you're not going to work. You're going to the doctor. So I ended up going to the doctor and getting blood work done. And when I got my blood work back, my A1C was ridiculous. So a normal A1C for anyone that's not diabetic or sick, it should be between a 5.4 to a 6. That's like a healthy range. 6, you're kind of creeping up to pre-diabetes. Mine was a 9.7. Yes. My A1C was a 9.7 at 26 years old, only weighing 125 pounds. My cholesterol was through the roof. I had cholesterol, like I was doing a lot of bad things to my body. My glucose was ridiculous. Like everything was elevated. Everything.
Wow.
Like, so at this point, my doctor was extremely concerned, because for me to be this young and,
And were you eating bad stuff or no?
I mean, I was eating like a typical 26-year-old. I mean, I don't know how bad I could be eating, being a
Right.
26 pounds,
Yeah.
being this young. And so I was concerned. We were all concerned. So at that point, they were trying to see if I was a type 1, because it just didn't make sense. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? How are you this small, but you have diabetes like this
Yeah.
bad? And evidently it was higher than that, because I had lost weight from after the pandemic. So I'm pretty sure my A1C was probably close to 11. Like I'm pretty sure it was that high. So I'm a walking miracle, honestly. Like
What did they do? What happened?
So from there, they were like, okay, of course they want to give medicine. And so like they prescribe all these medications, but I started off with just clean eating. So I was able to get my A1C from a 9.7 to a 6.2, which is clean eating, and stop stressing. Stop stressing. Like I had to really work on that, because stress was one of those main factors for me.
And when you say clean eating, so what do you mean?
So I was eating entirely too many carbohydrates, like bread and chips, like processed foods. I love stuff like that. So I ended up cutting that out of my diet to where I was eating more like, greens and, fruit.
Protein.
So for diabetics, fruit isn't as great for us. So
Right.
I didn't eat as much fruit, but like lots of greens and lots of protein and things like that. So I was able to get it down naturally.
Wow.
But then another problem happened.
What?
I lost too much weight. I ended up losing pounds.
You lost what?
10
How many?
pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and I was already 126. So I was getting too small. So
Wait, were you 116 or you got to what?
I got to 116. So I had dropped 10 pounds in basically a month. Yeah. So for me, that wasn't good either, because I can't lose another 10 pounds.
Right.
So anyway, eventually I ended up just start taking medication, but eating a little bit more to keep my weight. And so now here we are. I'm still doing pretty good. I do not take medication anymore, but just managing it by eating, how to get my diet together and figure out what worked for me, so I can maintain my weight. So we're there now. But yeah, I've been on a roller coaster in the past, I guess you can say 3 to 4 years. And teaching has been in the midst of that. And teaching kindergarten has I always say kindergarten saved my nervous system. It saved my perspective on teaching. It saved my ideal of humanity, because I realized like how much kindergarten is foundational to being human. There are so many things that we learn being 5 and 6 years old. And like I get to pour all of that into that in that moment. And so that kind of works into how I got into Kikori and how that has helped me in my passion of SEL. Because I realized that kids are more than just their minds. They have hearts, they have souls. And so I pour into that as well.
So when did you the SEL, you don't know it until you know it. Like, how did you even learn about it or come across it or something? Was it before Kikori or was it from Kikori?
Well, ironically enough, I was thinking and searching for things that I could help implement that. I already knew about LCL because schools, that's a mandate that they push automatically, but it's not really properly implemented. It's kind of like a piece of paper, like here to say we did it, let's do this. And so I wanted something more, because I realized that kids need to understand how to regulate their emotions. As teachers, we get upset with how they act and how they respond to things. But we have to show them, as adults, we have the responsibility of showing them this is how you respond, because quite frankly, a lot of times kids don't have that at home. They don't have parents showing them how to regulate their emotions when they're upset, when they're sad. So they come to school and they're just showing what they do at home, whether their parents yell at them or hit them or whatever that might be. They come to school and do the same thing. And so I'm like, I have to do something.
But did you know, because I'm just learning about all this, and I'm hearing about, when you learn something, and now I'm hearing about it. I read Oprah's book on what happened to you. Did you read that all about
Nah.
trauma? Oh my God. Yeah. It taught me so much, but just the whole regulation thing. Like, I don't think parents even know they're not regulated or the kids aren't to even know strategies to implement. So I think like what you're doing is so valuable, but I think parents need to be taught too.
Yeah.
But just that you're like, I was interviewing someone yesterday who actually works with horses and grown-ups. But she said, I don't know, the whole container thing, like I'm learning, you probably know all this, but like you create the safe container for these kids. So instead of label, like I have a friend who's a teacher, and she was like, oh, this kid's just bad. No one can deal with him. But it seems like when you're creating this, safe place for these kids,
Yeah.
they're not going to be labeled bad because you're going to figure out how to work with them, how to regulate. Is that true? I mean, that's just like, it's a different world. Like you're creating a different world for children, teachers, and hopefully parents. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is not nothing. This is so huge, right?
It is. And I feel like children are so intuitive. They can tell if you care about them. They really can. Especially going from being at home with mom and dad, most of their day, and then going into a classroom where you're a stranger, they will be able to tell the distinct difference between you do not act like my mom. You do not love me or care for me as my parent would. And so you have to almost create that bond. I'm not your mother, but I have that same care for you. The same thing your mom wants the best for you, I want the best for you. It's just in a different way. And so yes, it is a big task. I'm left with the responsibility of saying, these parents, first and foremost, they entrusted their children to me. And these kids, they're trusting me to lead them in the right way. And so with SEL, that provides that opportunity. And so as I was kind of searching for resources, ironically, Kikori reached out to me. And I was like, wow, I was actually looking for a program. And so we ended up connecting. And so with using it,
How did they find you?
So I have a social media account, my Instagram, Miss B Class. It's flourishing really well, bigger than what I thought it would be. And it started off for me talking about my journey of resigning as a fifth grade teacher and how I became a kindergarten teacher. And people became fascinated with like, how did you go from fifth to kindergarten? Or why did you resign? Or I felt the same way, or I want to resign right now because I'm burnt out. And so it created this big conversation to where I'm pouring into teachers saying, hey, I understand, because I was in that space. I actually did quit. But hey, there's alternatives. Try a different grade level, try a different school, try a different county. Like, before you just quit altogether, try something new. And so it started off with that. So Kikori, they saw my videos and they're like, hey, we would love to partner with you. And so I started implementing it in school. And let me tell you something. I love Kikori. This is not a paid sponsorship. I love it because every single day my kids are like, are we going to do Kikori today? Every day. Wow. So if I have a sub, I have to tell my kids, guys, the sub might not know how to log into Kikori today, okay? Or tomorrow. So please just be patient with the sub because it's so consistent with it, because it's so fun. And you're almost like sneaking in those SEL standards without them knowing it, but they're like, they get it. And so I did one video on my Instagram that went viral. It got 2.1 million views. And yeah, and it's Kikori behind me, and my kids, they were talking, they were kind of rambunctious, and I just did this. I rubbed my shoulders, and that was something that we did with Kikori. It was a self-control standard, and it was stop, think, and act. And when I did this, my kids knew I was saying self-control. And so as soon as I did that, they said stop, think, and act, and they got quiet. I didn't have to yell at them. I didn't have to say, you guys are talking, stop. I didn't do any of that. I just did one motion, and they knew what that meant. And so from there, the video blew up. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, what is that? What did you do? and it's Kikori. I just use what they teach or what they implement, and then I just refer to it. Remember, we talked about in our morning meeting, this is what we talked about. So stop, think, and act, self-control. And so from there, like, me and Kikori, we're besties. Like, the team, I love the entire team. I just love, it's been so helpful on my journey.
Wow. All right. We need to take our commercial break, but then we're going to come right back and talk some more about all this and why it's so helpful. All right. We'll be right back. All right. Cool.
Has social emotional learning become just one more thing on your teachers' plates? Do teachers and students both find it boring and ineffective? Then bring Kikori to your school. Kikori transforms classrooms through experiential SEL activities that help students play, reflect, connect, and grow. Even better, students say it's more fun than recess. Schedule a no-obligation conversation at kikoriapp.com/bringkikori. Kikori.
Hey, it's Hilary from Getting Real with Hilary. I want to share something really powerful with you today. Jerry Dale was deep in the music industry, providing girls, drug, and gambling opportunities, all while justifying it as making a living for his family. He questioned his path, but then God turned his life completely around. Now Jerry's on a mission to redeem and help others find their way back from the dark side. Jerry's book, Music, Porn, and Jesus, A Journey to Redemption, is his raw, real-life memoir of how God rescued him from the music industry, the porn world, and his own rebellion. It's not just a story. It's a testimony of grace, hope, and freedom. Visit IamJerryDale.com to get your copy and join a movement of redemption. If God can do it for Jerry, he can do it for you too. Hey, it's Hilary from the Getting Real with Hilary show. Life can be messy, raw, and real. And sometimes we're afraid to feel vulnerable. We're afraid to be that real self. Well, that's exactly what the Getting Real with Hilary show and Getting Real movement is all about. Being our true selves. Every week, I bring you stories of transformation, authenticity, and hope. People getting real with their struggles, their faith, and their breakthroughs. So don't miss a thing. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter today. You'll get stories, links to everything new, and how to create a life you love every week directly to your inbox. You can also find my books on Amazon. My courageous and riveting memoir, The Second Piece of French Toast, in case you feel stuck in your life and want to get inspired. How I came out about my no sex life in my marriage, in my second book, Real Talk. That one will get you speaking up in ways you've been too afraid to do so, and really creating amazing freedom. And my third book, How to Stop Fixing Yourself and Start Having Fun, the name is called Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. Find links to everything and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Getting Real with Hilary, and you'll find the links in the header. So, visit, and you can also visit gettingrealwithhilary.com, because the real you is worth it and wants to come out. So thank you, as always, to our sponsor, KikoriApp.com, to Jerry Dale, who's our new sponsor. And you might have seen some banners floating around about Ed Hajum. He's got 2 books out there. He's also a sponsor. And then my books as well. My 3 books. I'll do them real fast so we can get Chyna back. But this is about speaking up if you're afraid to. This one is about if you find yourself on the other side of life that's not that much fun, how to stop trying to fix yourself and have more fun. It's Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. And then my memoir, when I was definitely on the wrong side, on the hard side of life, but I came out of it and I wrote this book in case other people find themselves struggling as well. The Second Piece of French Toast. So you got my 3 stuff, our sponsors, and now we're going to bring Chyna back, and I want to be able to show that. Maybe we can put it into the interview, that 2.1 million views post, right? Let's look at that. If not, you'll have to go find her. It's Miss B, BEE class. Is that it? Yes, B class. That's how you can find Chyna. Okay. All right. So tell me more about how Kikori has made a difference. I mean, you were talking about you're the foundation for these kids. You want them to know you care and you want the best for them. How does Kikori factor into that?
So one thing that I will say is it makes it personal and part of their day-to-day life. So every day there's some type of like national day of. So it kind of introduces it as, hey, today is July 3rd. And today is National Hat Day, right? And so from there, and I'm just making up, I don't know if it's National Hat Day, but from there, we would talk about like, what is your favorite hat? Do you think, what is your, what color is it? Walk around to a friend where you have the same kind of hat. If you have a cowboy hat on in your imaginary brain, you're thinking, who has a cowboy hat on? And then you'll walk to that friend and then they're talking. So from there, we're building community, and they have no idea that we're building social skills and we're just talking about a hat, right? It's so simple, and it just makes it like part of their life. It's not another strategy to add on. It's not another chore. It's literally just making it a part of their life. And that's how it is as an adult. You think about when we do icebreakers at our jobs, or when you meet new people, when you meet the love of your life, like it starts just from a conversation, or like we have something in common. It's literally that simple. And so building that
you're doing it every day.
Every day.
When you do an icebreaker at a thing, you meet the person once and it helps. Imagine, right? Doing this every day with the same group of kids.
Yeah. And so from there, they start because a lot of times kids are like adults. Think about when you have friends. You might go with a group of people, but you might have a select few that you only talk to. And we even do that as adults, and it's kind of crazy. But kids, they do that too. They'll have like their 1 or 2 friends that they want to go to. Even if my hat is blue and yours is red, I'm still going to find a way to talk to my friend because I just like my friend. But when you start kind of like, hey, let's be open-minded to talking to new friends. Even in that small classroom, I still have to do that to where I'm like, hey, go talk to the person you never talked to before. But every day it's something new. So literally you're not like, it's not redundant. It's not, okay, guys, we're going to do this icebreaker we did yesterday. No, it's like, it's a fresh new thing. And every week it's a new concept. So it might be self-control today. It might be how to deal with conflict tomorrow or next week. It might be, what do you do when you're happy? What do you do when you're sad? And just kind of have those conversations to where it's not just a mundane thing that you're doing the same thing every single day. So it's always something new.
So would you say, like, like, let's say a kid is dysregulated. Let's say they come in, I don't know why they would, but they had a tough day at home or something, or they got yelled at, and they come into your classroom and you can see that. Would Kikori help with that? Or what do you do? Because I think, like I always think of my friend, how that poor kid was just labeled as bad. And nobody really tried to figure out what's going on, or maybe, like in the Oprah book, if they weren't safe at home, or they didn't have, like when you were in that rural place, if they didn't have conversations and they couldn't develop their brain in certain areas, then there might be like a 2-year-old instead of a 5-year-old, and they might be labeled, and then nobody ever helps them get to the 5-year-old. Like, do you see that? And this helps them get, bring everybody up so you're all one big community? Is that?
Yes, I actually have a perfect example. Last school year, this one that was just ended, was probably, even though I love kindergarten, it was a very challenging year. I had 3 students that were very challenging. Um, and to the point, actually, the first 2 months of school last year, I came home, cried, and said, I don't like my job. I
Mm.
couldn't do it because it was a lot. But once again, I'm like what Maya Angelou would say, still I rise. Like every situation that I go through, and I have to say my faith is what really helps me, but it's like still I rise. So I had this one student, Hilary, this student was so tough. I
Like,
sometimes
in what way?
he had he had a lot of issues with self-regulating. That's for one. He
Okay.
would hit, he would throw things. And this is the thing you were saying, like some kids might not have that family, that foundation at home. He had a great mother. You know, his
Mm.
mother loved him. His grandparents support him. Um, at that point, it was probably a little too much to where they coddled him, but he had all that support. Whatever he wanted or needed, he got. So it wasn't like he was lacking any of those things. Um, but he was on the spectrum.
Mm.
Very smart, but on the spectrum. And then he had a lot of that behavioral concern. So he actually had an RBT, which is a behavioral tech that would come in every single day and help him. Well, the behavioral tech quit. So guess who had to be the behavioral tech?
You.
And I had 20 other kids, well, I had 19
Weird, huh?
other kids, and then this one child who needed a lot of support. And so I had to figure out what was going to work for him. And so I really, really drilled in on those SCL skills. I really did. To the point when he got a new RBT, the RBT was like, I don't really have anything I need to do. Like you've pretty much resolved a lot of those issues, to the point we just began to push him in other ways because he had overcame a lot of those issues that he came in with. When he came in, he would not write. He would eat his paper. He would throw things. He would hit me. He would hit his classmates. By November, he was no longer doing those things. He was writing. Just so many things that he did not do, he started to do just from me using those SEL skills through Kikori.
All right. Can you explain how that worked? I mean, other people might know. I've heard a little bit about it. I mean, I know it, like Kikori uses play. So if they're, I don't know, in the limbic part of the brain, they're not up in their cortex, then they connect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that, I mean, not how does the brain work, but I mean, that's like a miracle that he's now writing and doing all that stuff. Like, I think there must be a lot of kids like that.
Yeah.
That this could be so helpful to teachers.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
So for him, he was already capable of doing these things, but he didn't want to. So it was all behavioral. He didn't want to do it. And so I pushed him in the most positive way, but creating community really helped him because he was used to just it being about him. And that's what a lot of kids, they're used to, like, this is about me. Either they're the youngest child or they're the only child. And so they're used to all the attention. And so it's important to help them build a sense of community. This is my classroom. I have classmates. I have to respect them. If I'm too loud, I'm hurting my friend's ears. If I'm hitting, I'm harming my friend. I'm making them sad. My teacher's disappointed. And creating that community and relationship really helped him because he realized that when I do these things, Miss B's not happy. It's actually harming her. And I like Miss B because I've built a relationship with her. And so when you build that relationship through, like I said, the Kikori community building things, those strategies that help build the puzzle pieces of, hey, I don't want to harm my friend. I want to see them smile. So let me not do that. Or second guess, or not second guess, but think about what I'm doing before I do it. Let me have that self-control. Let me stop. Let me think, and then I'll act. So those kind of community building activities really help this 5-year-old realize, oh man, my actions, first and foremost, I'm not getting what I want, because what I want attention. And that's what kids value and want. They want attention. But when I do these things, I'm not getting the right attention. But if I'm doing the right things, I'm getting the attention and I'm making friends. I'm building community. And so that's what Kikori does. It helps with that community. It helps me feel like I belong here. This is my classroom. And I want to respect my classmates and my teacher.
So did that kid end up like having friends and being part of the community? And instead of being like the problem that everyone's like, oh, he's now one of everybody. That's like a miracle, right?
Yes,
That's unbelievable.
he had a birthday party and some of the classmates came and it made him so happy. He just showed like, oh my gosh, I can almost cry because if I could ever say that one kid made me a better teacher, it is that one kid. Hilary, I am truly one of the best teachers I can say in my own heart because of that kid. That kid, and he was the most challenging child I've ever encountered. But walking out knowing that I helped him build foundational skills just to being human, not worrying about him being the smartest kid in the room, not worried about him being the coolest, but being human and having empathy, building community. And just knowing that alone, I'm like, I'm a great teacher.
Well, imagine if you hadn't worked with him,
I know.
where he might have ended up.
I know. It was really bad. Like I said, the RBT quit.
Right. I mean, imagine how many RBTs was he going to go through until he was in a special place for people. That's amazing. Wow.
So that's my little story.
Yeah.
And so Kikori was definitely foundational in that. I really attribute that. And of course, like I said, my background as being a student, even when I was a kid, I had teachers do the same thing for me, care for me. My family, we were homeless my 8th grade year. So yeah, my eighth grade year, I came back to school knowing that my whole family, it was 3 of us at the time, 3 kids and my parents, and we had a Rottweiler dog. And we had to move out of our 2-story home into a motel. We fell on really hard times and we had to do a writing prompt. I remember, I can still see it to this day. My teacher had us write, "What did you do this summer?" And in my journal, I wrote, well, my friends were like, I went to Disney World, I went camping, I went out of the country. And my journal entry said, my family and I had to move out of our home and move into a motel. And from there, I remember my teacher pulled me to the side after she read that. And she asked, what could we do to help? And I said, well, I don't have any school supplies. And so her and my teachers, they went and bought every school supplies I needed, every single thing. And then that Christmas came around, we were still homeless. And they took me to Target and I was able to pick whatever I wanted for my siblings. I get a little emotional when I think about this.
Oh, yeah.
And I got all kind of stuff for them. And they looked at me and they said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want a coat." That's all I wanted was a coat. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize, please.
Me being a kid, I was 13, and that's all I could think of to ask for was a coat because I was cold and we didn't have the money to get one. And so they got me a coat, and I was playing basketball too, and they got me basketball shoes. But my only concern was I want my siblings to have a good Christmas. And so they got so many good things. It was amazing. I got to pick whatever I wanted for them.
Wow.
So those moments like that are pivotal for me. And so having students like the one I just explained, I couldn't give up on him because they didn't give up on me. Teachers like that didn't give up on me. And so like those are my stories that I hold on to, and that's my why. That's why I do what I do. So yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, we're kind of at the end, but what would you like to say in closing? What's the difference you want to make? How do you see the world in 5 years? What do you want to say about Kikori? I guess that's probably more more than a minute, but that's okay.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up, I would say don't give up on teachers, and teachers, let's not give up on teaching. We really, truly are the foundation of the world. If there wasn't a teacher, we would not have, all of these amazing, intelligent people. And so teachers, if you're watching, don't give up. Know that your impact is more than you know, even if it's that one child that everyone says that they're bad and they can't do anything with, but there's you. You can do it. You are the reason why they're coming to school every day. You are the reason why they're pushing past not wanting to come to school, or they might have issues at home. So keep going. Don't burn yourself out in the midst of it, but keep going. And as far as Kikori concerned, it is truly a platform that you would want to look into. It has made teaching SEL extremely easy, but it's extremely important to have every single day in your classroom. And so I would encourage you to check it out. I am truly a living testimony that it works. It works for me as well. There's times that I needed to laugh and Kikori helped me laugh, or I needed to smile and it helped me smile. So just keep doing what you're doing, and the impact that you're making, it will ring down in history.
Say that again.
The impact that you're making, it will ring down in history.
Rain down in history. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chyna. And don't forget to check her out at Miss BEE class. Check out her social media. Where is it? On Instagram?
Instagram, and I'm on on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok as well.
Okay. So check her out, follow her. Check out Kikori, KikoriApp.com, KIKORIAPP.com. And thank you so much, Chyna, for the work you're doing and for not giving up.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching this episode. I started getting real with Hilary when I discovered that I was a people-pleasing, pleasant phony and wanted to be more of my real self. We can grow together if you will like the show, subscribe to my channel, and share this episode with your friends and family so that we can have a world that's more real.